You'd think I'd know by now. Good evening and welcome. My name is Keith Thompson, and I will be your host for this evening's concert. And tonight's special guest is Jennifer Roberts. Jennifer grew up in a musical family and knew from a very early age that she wanted to be a singer and an actor. And while she's comfortable in all musical styles, she has a particular fondness for the Great American Songbook, which is what she will be sharing with us later on tonight. Jennifer will be out in a moment just to share her passion with us, but before we continue, we'd like to thank tonight's sponsor, the Keystone Solutions Group of Kalamazoo, who is bringing us this performance free of charge. In addition to Keystone Solutions Group, we'd like to call your attention to all of our sponsors and donors that you'll find listed in the back of your program, and especially to the Irving S. Gilmore Foundation, who continues to be our most gracious supporter. So once again, please join me in thanking all of these wonderfully supportive institutions. And one more quick announcement before we get underway. We'd like to also extend a very special welcome to Melody Lieber. Melody is a Western Michigan University music student playing bass tonight. Melody. You know, the origins of the Great American Songbook can be traced back to Tin Pan Alley, which was the music center of New York's songwriting and publishing scene in the late 19th century and the early 20th century. Now, many of the composers there were actually classically trained immigrants or children of immigrants. So songwriters like George and Ira Gershwin, Irving Berlin, Cole Porter, Jerome Kern, Harold Arlen, alongside Scott Joplin and Fats Waller, I should say, merged European traditions with American jazz, blues, and show tunes. And so, in fact, much of the music that came out of Tin Pan Alley laid the foundation and inspiration for Broadway musicals, big bands, and a large part of modern popular music. And even singers today, such as Rod Stewart and Diana Krall, are proving the long-lasting versatility and vitality of the Great American Songbook with their most recent recordings. So we began our exploration of the Great American Songbook with an overture of Broadway showstoppers. And to present this medley of Broadway hits, please welcome conductor Thomas G. Evans and the Kalamazoo Concert Band. The classic hit, Blue Moon, came into being around 1934 after famed composers Rodgers and Hart were brought from New York City to Hollywood to produce songs for a film that was called Hollywood Party, which was to star many of the studio's top artists. Well, one of our ideas, Rodgers later recalled, was to include a scene in which Jean Harlow is shown as an innocent young girl saying, or rather singing, her prayers. And the tune at that time was simply called Prayer, but had different lyrics. And so shortly after their arrival, that film was reworked as a comedy and starred Laurel and Hardy with the Three Stooges. Well, that is not what Rodgers and Hart signed up for. So 2 years later, completely frustrated with the movie industry, Rodgers and Hart went back to New York City to do what they were meant to do, and that is writing Broadway hits. But here is an interesting twist. Blue Moon, the most famous song to come out of those dreadful Hollywood years, has now taken a controversial turn. A few years ago, an award-winning documentary filmmaker publicly claimed that Rodgers and Hart didn't even write the song Blue Moon. On the contrary, said Liz Roman Galeese, Blue Moon was actually composed in Troy, New York, on the east bank of the Hudson River by a 17-year-old son of Polish immigrants. I know, Galeese said in a New York Times article, because I am that man's daughter and because I have always known this story. And she said, quote, "It's been part of my family for all of my growing up years." Well, now, Galeese said that her father, Edward Roman, actually wrote the song in 1931, and he later sold it for $900 as a settlement with Rodgers and Hart. And she says she has the receipt to prove it. But even with the receipt, that claim that her father is the original composer of the song is still under dispute. And so, whoever wrote it, Blue Moon has had a remarkable run in popular culture with many revivals by hundreds of musicians over the decades. And now, to send you over the moon, please welcome trombonist Tom Evans and the assistant conductor of the Kalamazoo Concert Band, Brian Shetterly, to perform their version of Blue Moon. Well, now it is our great pleasure to introduce to you our guest artist for this evening, Ms. Jennifer Roberts. Jennifer is an accomplished singer and actress with a musical theater background and experience in television and in film. A brief summary of her career includes numerous performances in New York City's top cabaret rooms, appearing frequently with symphony orchestras as guest artist, a frequent announcer and guest artist on the Great American Songbook radio station. Her CD, An Evening with Jennifer Roberts, received a 2019 MAC nomination and continues to receive much airplay in the US and overseas. And she just finished recording her second album in New York City and is currently working on a Christmas album. And here's what one jazz critic had to say about Jennifer. Jennifer Roberts stands among those rare artists who remind us that the voice is not merely an instrument, but it's a habitat. It's a place where memory and discipline and vulnerability and imagination converge. And as she steps once more into the stillness of the studio, preparing 2 albums that invite listeners closer than ever, she offers a quiet but resonant proposition that intimacy in music, as in life, remains one of the most daring forms of expression. Now, to listen to Jennifer's talent is to experience someone who views performance as both a discipline and an act of empathy. Jennifer listens deeply to her musicians, to the audience, and to the inner shifts of her own emotional landscape. So, without further ado, please give a warm Kalamazoo welcome to Jennifer Roberts.
guys sound amazing. Thank you. Thank you so very much. I'm thrilled. This is my very first time working with this brilliant Kalamazoo concert band. Aren't they amazing? And I find it phenomenal that this is their very first Pops concert of all time. Aren't they swinging and jamming? So we're hoping to introduce you to a lot of songs. I don't know how many of you are Great American Songbook fans, but it happens to me to be my very favorite musical form. Always has been since high school. So we tried to pick some different songs to give you just an inkling and a sampling of all the great songs out there that you'll hear over and over and over again. The one we just did was Duke Ellington, one of my very favorite composers. And also the one we're going to do next is a Harold Arlen song. It's very famous. It was Lena Horne that made it famous, Ethel Waters and many others. But in case you didn't know this, he's the composer of The Wizard of Oz, and he won the Oscar for that. So this song is written with Ted Koehler. The one we're going to do after that has an interesting story. It's by Jimmy McHugh and Dorothy Fields. They were walking along the street, Fifth Avenue in New York, and they saw this couple looking in the Tiffany's jewelry window. And they decided to sneak a little closer and hear the conversation. And the man said, "I'd love to buy you this sparkle, baby, but all I can give you is love." So they went home, within an hour, created the song we're going to do after this next one.
Keeps raining all the time. Life is bare, gloom and misery everywhere, stormy weather. Just can't get my poor self together. I'm weary all the time. So weary all the time. When he went away, the blues walked in and met me. If he stays away, all rocking chair will get me. All I do is pray the Lord above will let me walk in the sun once more. Can't go on. All I have in life is gone. Stormy weather. Since my man and I ain't together. Keeps raining all the time. When he went away, the blues walked in and met me. If he stays away, old rocking chair will get me. All I do is pray the Lord above will let me walk in the sun once more. Can't go on. Since my man and I ain't together.
so very much. I can't give you anything but love, baby. That's the only thing I've plenty of, baby. Scream a while, scheme a while, you're sure to find happiness, and I guess all those things you always pine for. Gee, I'd like to see you looking swell, baby. Diamond bracelets were worth a dozen cents, baby. Until the lucky day, you know darn well, baby, I can't give you anything but love. I can't give you anything but love, baby. That's the only thing I've plenty of, baby. Dream a while, scheme a while, you're sure to find happiness, and I guess all those things you always pine for. Gee, I'd like to see you looking swell, baby. Diamond bracelets were worth a dozen cents, baby. Until that lucky day, you know darn well, baby, I can't give you anything. I can't give you anything. I can't give you anything but Thank you all so very much.
Of America's many contributions to the arts, the most widely influential, perhaps even more influential than jazz, may ultimately prove to be the body of popular songs created in the 20th century by the commercial composers and lyricists who worked on Broadway, Tin Pan Alley, and in Hollywood. The men and women who wrote those songs did not exist in a cultural or artistic vacuum. Rather, their work was rooted in a well-known European tradition, that of light opera or operetta. But it was from the outset distinctively American in tone, colored not only by ragtime and early jazz, but by the pungent accent of what H.L. Mencken called the American language. And though a few European-born musicians, including Kurt Weill, have functioned successfully in the American idiom, no European could possibly have written the words or music of such songs as Alexander's Ragtime Band, or I Got Rhythm, or St. Louis Blues. Now, W.C. Handy dreamed up St. Louis Blues in one night while living in a Beale Street rooming house. My first decision, he says, was that my new song would be another blues tune, true to the soil and in the tradition of the Memphis Blues. Published in 1914, 3 years before the first jazz recordings were ever made, St. Louis Blues quickly became and has since remained one of the best loved of all American popular songs. And welcome back. A journey into the world of Jerome Robbins Broadway is more than just a trip down memory lane. It's a chance to rediscover the brilliance, the wit, and the poetry of one of the most inventive and influential artists in Broadway history. Between 1944 and 1964, Jerome Robbins choreographed and/or directed 15 musicals, beginning with On the Town and continuing with such memorable works as The King and I, West Side Story, and Fiddler on the Roof. Robbins' unerring sense of movement did more than just entertain. It helped define character. It helped to express emotion and enhance the text so that dance no longer stood apart from the words and the music, but became very much a part of the show's development. Take the dance sequences out of West Side Story, which Robbins conceived, choreographed, and directed, and there would be no West Side Story. The landmark 1957 show was staged with a fluidity of movement that imbued the entire piece, extending the possibilities of dance and galvanizing musical theater. He changed musical theater single-handedly, asserts Jason Alexander, who also says, when you see his art, you can no longer be totally satisfied with dances that are just for dance's sake, with dances that don't move a story forward. And now, once again, please welcome conductor Dr. Thomas Evans and the Kalamazoo Concert Band. Songs from the Great American Songbook endure because of their timeless, sophisticated melodies, their witty, emotional lyrics, and most importantly, their adaptability for reinterpretation across generations. These 1920 to 1950 standards, often written for Broadway or Hollywood, possess a perfect structure, typically an AABA form that allows artists from Frank Sinatra and Ella Fitzgerald to Lady Gaga and Michael Bublé to find personal expression within them. Now, to continue this legacy and to ensure that the music of the Great American Songbook endures, please welcome once again our gifted guest artist, Jennifer Roberts.
Thank you all so very much.
The way you wear your hat, the way you sip your tea, the memory of all that. No, no, they can't take that away from me. The way you smile just beams, the way you sing off key, the way you haunt my dreams. No, no, they can't take that away from me. We may never, never meet again on the bumpy road to love. Still I'll always, always keep the memory of the way you hold your knife, the way we danced till 3, the way you changed my life. No, no, they can't take that away from me. No, they can't take that away from me. We may never, never meet again on the bumpy road to love. Still I'll always, always keep the memory of the way you hold your knife, the way we danced till 3, the way you changed my life. No, no, they can't take that away from me. No, they can't take that away. No, they can't take that away. No, they can't take that away from me.
Thank you so much. That is my very favorite composer of American Songbook. George and his brother Ira Gershwin wrote the lyrics, very favorite. So I'm glad we could include a couple of songs from George. And then after that will be a song from Cole Porter. And if you listen, like Keith was saying, witty, romantic, sophisticated, especially Cole Porter, whereas Ira's a little bit more charming, clever, and romantic. But before we move on, I gotta say, that band is outstanding, right? The Kalamazoo Concert Band. And wasn't,
Doesn't she look dazzling? I mean, she's sparkling like crazy up here.
he specifically told me to sparkle, so I went out and bought Sparkle. But wasn't that Broadway medley stirring? There's no way you can listen to that music and not be moved dramatically. I think my very favorite musical theater composer is Leonard Bernstein, who was in the middle. Also, Sondheim was in there. And then I heard Jerry Bach and Sheldon Harnick in there. I do a whole Sheldon Harnick show of his lyrics, so we should bring it to Kalamazoo at some point with my New York band members. Yeah, great. So this is probably George and Ira Gershwin's most famous, most loved song. You'll hear it all different ways.
There's a somebody I'm longing to see. I hope that he turns out to be someone to watch over me. I'm a little lamb who's lost in the wood. I know I could always be good to one who'll watch over me. Although he may not be the man some girls think of as handsome, to my heart he carries the key. Won't you tell him, please, to put on some speed? Follow my lead. Oh, how I need someone to watch over me. Although he may not be the man some girls think of as handsome, to my heart he carries the key. Won't you tell him, please, to put on some speed? Follow my lead. Oh, how I need someone I've got you under my skin. I tried so not to give in. I said to myself, this affair never will go so well. But why should I try to resist when, darling, I know so well I've got you under my skin. I'd sacrifice anything, come what may, for the sight of having you near, in spite of the warning voice that comes in the night and repeats in my ear. Don't you know, little fool, you never can win. Use your mentality, wake up to reality. But each time I do, just the thought of you makes me stop before I begin. 'Cause I've got you under my skin. I'd sacrifice anything, come what may, for the sake of having you near, in spite of the warning voice that comes in the night and repeats in my ear. Don't you know, little fool, you never can win. Use your mentality, wake up to reality. But each time I do, just the thought of you makes me stop before I begin. 'Cause I've got you under my skin. 'Cause I've got you under my skin. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you all so much.
Before we present our final work for the evening, we would like to sincerely thank you for being here, because we know that we are competing for your time and attention. You could have stayed home, you could have socialized with friends elsewhere, but you chose to be here with us. And for that, we say thank you. As Tom says, well, sure, give yourself a round of applause. As Tom likes to say, without you, tonight's performance is called
A rehearsal.
Exactly. I've heard that line a few times. Now, if you enjoyed tonight's performance, then please invite your friends and family, your neighbors and co-workers to our next concert. It's titled April in Paris. This season finale will be on Saturday, April the 18th, right here in Chinnery Auditorium at 7 o'clock. And as always, it's free. It's a great way to experience Paris from the comfort of your auditorium seat. And finally, of course, if you're able to, please consider making a donation to the KCB on your way out, because your contribution, no matter how big or small, is greatly appreciated, and I guarantee you it's put to good use. You know, Irving Berlin is famous for writing classic American songs like White Christmas, God Bless America, There's No Business Like Show Business, and Puttin' on the Ritz. Known as the king of Tin Pan Alley, he wrote more than 100 songs. And here's a fun fact. He never learned to read or write music. It's pretty crazy. Now, composed in 1929, Puttin' on the Ritz quickly became an iconic jazz age tune, symbolizing style and glamour and a little bit of fun. Over the decades, it's been performed in movies and on stage and by countless artists who love tap dancing to it. And who can forget the hysterical tap dancing scene in Young Frankenstein? You can admit it, you know Young Frankenstein. Once again, we thank you so much for being here. And of course, remember, it don't mean a thing if it ain't got that swing.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate you folks being here. This is the first time we've ever done a Pops concert. Should we do more of these?
American popular songs.
Yeah, they're fun. You're going to love this next is fun. So the thing is, the American Songbook is continuing. There are more and more pieces being entered into the American Songbook. And here's one some of you may know, and some of you may not know, but you're going to love it. By the time you get out, you're going to look it up. This is called Feeling Good.
Birds flying high, you know how I feel. Sun in the sky, you know how I feel. Breeze drifting on by, you know how I feel. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life for me. And I'm feeling good. Fish in the sea, you know how I feel. A river running free, you know how I feel. Blossom on the tree, you know how I feel. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life for me. And I'm feeling good. Dragonfly out in the sun, you know what I mean, don't you know? Butterflies all having fun, you know what I mean. Sleep in peace when day is done, that's what I mean. And this old world is a new world, it's a bold world for me. For me. Dawn's when you shine, you know how I feel. Scent of the pine, you know how I feel. Oh, freedom is in my heart, and I know how I feel. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life, it's a new life for me. And I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good. Oh, I'm feeling so good.